going across here. It was being pulled by the filament spool, which I'm going to get into shortly. But they came out a lot nicer subsequently, and bricks also snap onto those, and they've got the hole for Technic, the long black Technic shafts. But I'm probably just going to use nuts and bolts to bolt them together to hold them in place on the wall. Yeah, the shafts. It's the specified dimensions of Lego Technic bricks and orientation, which I found online. So I could use the Technic, but I'm probably just going to use nuts because I think I have more of them. And they also fit together like this. I have a whole series of them. Like the corner ones have this same shape with dovetails, so they'll all, like this one has the mounting hole, so this one goes on the wall, and then the one next to it goes like that, and the one on the other side goes, I can't line up the dovetail that far away, like that, and then the track goes across the top, and then like that all the way around the room. I have the model that I can show you, because I have officially paid for SolidWorks. Full price. Don't try and get away with not doing that. PSA, they will find you and you'll get in trouble. I don't really want to go more into it. But it was expensive. Anyway, this is the, you see that? Yeah, this is the room, well, that is the approximate dimensions of the room. That sketch? No. That sketch. We measured the room. It is not a perfect square. It is 8 millimeters off from one wall to the other, which is annoying. But I designed enough adjustability in my brackets. They can shift about 6 millimeters to either side. I should be able to compensate for the misalignment in the room.
What is it?
What's what?
What are you printing?
Brackets to mount Lego train track. That's what these are.
Yeah.
Up on the wall around my foyer,
Okay.
going around the room on the ceiling. These are the corner brackets there. And then I modeled, these are individual Lego train tracks.
Nice.
I used Bricklink for the first time to order bulk Lego pieces from someone in Germany. That was exciting. Because he was the only person who had enough Lego train track pieces to do what I needed. I didn't want to order.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
want
had
to
to
place.
piecemeal that one.
Yeah, I didn't want to buy from like 5 different people, so I just searched for one person who had all the pieces I needed.
That did not happen for me when I was trying to get your missing
Yeah.
pieces filled.
If you want to touch it, that's fine. It's not going to break. And these are test pieces anyway, so I don't care. But yeah, this is Lego track. This is the new style, which is all plastic. My original Lego train set that I still have and still mostly works. The transformer wears out after like 5 or 10 minutes, but has metal rails that conduct 9-volt electricity to power the motor of the Lego train. The new version runs on batteries, lithium-ion batteries, which are ubiquitous enough now that they can fit in a Lego set. So anyway, that's what I've been. What?
It's very modern.
It is,
Yeah,
and it's
what's
actually
the
it's
early
Bluetooth.
90s? Oh, geez.
Yeah,
The train is
Fancy out
Bluetooth?
here.
the new Lego, I forget what it's called, hub, I think, is a Bluetooth, and you can program, like there's sensors and motors that you can plug into it.
You got
And
yours from the 90s, right?
the 9-volt train, yeah, I think was released in 93
Yeah.
or 94.
It's pretty old now.
It is very old, but it still works. I mean, it had been in a box and moved like 4 times, and then when I moved into this house, I asked my parents if they still had it, and then my dad just shipped it to me, so.
I know it's been in a box because I didn't even know you had it until this house and you
Yeah.
pulled it out. It's been in a box forever.
So anyway, that's what I've been working on, is the Lego train. Is that the, yeah, they should snap, but because of the errors in the print, they don't stay very well. So I'm just gonna get rid of the nubs to snap on and just use hot glue, which is low tech and not Lego-y, but I don't care. Honestly, you're not even gonna see the tracks because when it's mounted up high, like it's gonna look like this. Where is it? Like this is how you're gonna see it, like that. So, like from that angle, you can't even tell there's Lego tracks on there. You're just going to see the train itself up above the brackets and stuff. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about at this, wow, I cannot talk. Filament storage is the topic that I said would be this month's meeting. And precision tuning, which I didn't get around to doing really too much of. Because I was working on filament storage. I forget how I found this thing, but when I saw it, I thought it was amazing, and so I decided to make some. Because I had basically never cared about filament storage, because when I started 3D printing, I read about the eccentricities of PLA, and there were only two filaments at the time, PLA and ABS. And Legos are made of ABS, and PLA is kind of finicky, so I said, I'm only going to print in ABS. And ABS is technically hydroscopic. It absorbs moisture in the air. There's a word for that, and I can't remember
Yeah,
what
not
it is.
phobic. Phobic would be repel.
Yeah,
Hydrophilic.
that one.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I said it first.
It technically is, but to such a small degree that it basically doesn't matter. But PLA is to a larger degree such that if you don't, like if you store your PLA just out, it can absorb enough moisture to affect the quality of the prints. Because moisture in the filament will turn to steam in the hot end, and steam bubbles are not supposed to be in the hot end, and they'll cause blobs and sputtering and spitting to come out the nozzle, and that's not what you want. So PLA should be stored in a dry place or a vacuum bag. And this guy, Mars Guzmo, whatever his name is, came up with a fairly novel solution for plastic cereal containers. That's what these are. The actual ones that he lists on this page are no longer available from Amazon, but I found some that mostly work. Actually, if I didn't buy filament from the brand that I buy it from, they would work perfectly. Because this is not the brand I usually buy from, but as you can see, it fits in there nice and loose, and if I had rollers under it, it would spin freely. This is another brand of filament, and it also spins fairly freely. As you can see, it can rattle around. However, I buy all of my filament, well, almost all of my filament, from Coex, and their spools are just a little bit bigger. It's a little stiff to turn in here. Like, it will turn, but not as easily. And if I grab, like, I can pull it, and it'll come without too much drag, but that's also because I have modified this container just a little bit. When I initially started using these and printing the Mars Gizmo, bunker parts, I found that the spools would fit in the container, but they would not turn. Like this would just lift the container up off the thing, the filament wouldn't turn at all. So I looked at the problem and tried to figure out what a solution might be, because the sticking point was only like a tiny little bit at the edges of the spool rubbing against the containers. It almost spun freely. So I thought, how can I make the container just a little bit wider at exactly that point? And so I made this, which I put the containers in boiling water and slid this down inside them and stretched them out. And I I didn't stretch them very well because this one shrank back down. But if you look, you can kind of see this little bulge at the corner here, which is where the stretchy thing stretched out the filament container, and now it spins just a little bit easier. And so I can feed from the container and not have to worry about my PLA getting all moist. Uncoil this back up.
What brand are those?
There we go. And one of the cool things about this guy's design is it has this little box at the end which you fill with this little orange stuff is silica desiccant, like you see in those little white packets you find in, beef jerky or any other number of places. That goes in this pocket, and there's a lid on the ones that aren't this one. Yeah, you can hear it shaking around in this guy. And there's also, at the front, a hole for a moisture gauge, which also has a scientific name that I don't remember, which just tells the level of humidity in the container, so I can make sure the desiccant hasn't run out.
Wet bulb thermometer?
I'm sorry?
Wet bulb thermometer?
Yeah, basically. This desiccant is color indicating, which the blue kind is actually toxic, but the orange kind, not so much. Although that guy actually recommends non-color indicating desiccant, which you definitely would want the moisture gauge for that. But I looked into it, the orange isn't, I think technically it's toxic, but like to such a minimal amount that I don't really recommend. And yeah, there's rollers that go in the thing with standard 608 roller skate or skateboard bearings, which I have a bunch of because every time I'm in Goodwill, if they have any roller skates, I always buy them because it is the cheapest way to get 608 bearings. One pair of skates, one skate has, I think, 8 bearings in it because each wheel has 2, and there's 4 wheels per skate, and a pair of skates, you're talking 16 bearings for $5. Can't beat that. Just can't. And they're all, they're usually in pretty good shape. I've never found a pair of 608 bearings off of roller skates that were no good. So anyway, 608 bearings and desiccant moisture meter. But I found that even as easily as this one moves, I have some other spools, because this is the new style, but some of my other coax spools were not spinning freely. So I redesigned this thing, the main body. This is my design, which got rid of the letters, which just cause annoying extra use of filament on the prints. And I also spread apart the bearings by about 4 millimeters, which you can kind of sort of see. These ones are slightly, well, you can tell this is further forward if I hold the other end level. Yeah, so basically what that does is I was finding that my spools were dragging on the lid. So like they fit side to side, but they were rubbing, not actually the top of the lid, the hinge right here kind of touches the sides of the spools and was inducing friction, and I wanted to eliminate that source of friction if I could. So I spread the wheels apart 4 millimeters, because that's as far as I could get them, without changing the shape of the box. Because in order to keep it centered in the container, this wheel has to be like where it is. I can't move it any further back because the box touches the back of the container. So, but 4 millimeters worked. The other spool I tested spins almost freely. Like the friction now is because you're pulling from the inner part of the spool and it's resting on the outer part. So compared to like this, which is how filament's mounted in Bigfoot, with the bearing plate, you've got just greater friction than a bearing plate would have. But these bearing plates are not supposed to be mounted sideways, so they don't work as well as the one on my other printer that's mounted flat. These are designed to be mounted flat. I have them sideways because reasons.
So the cereal boxes are for moisture prevention?
Yes, to keep filament dry. And I have not had them long enough to test, like, I don't know how wet my filament was before starting to use these, so I can't really say how much better it's gotten since using them. But if well, no, I don't know. But I'm going to try and keep my filament dry in the future. What else? She helped me make a spreadsheet of where all my various spools of filament are. Because at this point I have kind of a lot. Because on Cyber Monday, Coax has a sale. One sale a year. And I'm not trying to shill for them. I like their filament. But that's the only sale they have. And so I stock up for the year. So now I have a bunch.
Like you like colors?
They're just the quality. I've found it to be very good.
Consistent? Consistent?
Yeah. They're the brand that Stratasys recommends for their printers. Not that I have a Stratasys machine. A guy I know who was actually the first guy to do an AR lower on Thingiverse, he did it on I think it was on a Stratasys machine, a $10,000 printer, and it worked. And then I tried to do it on a $1,000 printer, and it took me a couple of months, but I got it working. And then Thingiverse, there was a whole big thing. We were in news people asked us questions, and that's how I met him. But anyway, he told me about coax filament, because he actually works 3D printing like as a job, as a profession, so he has access to professional grade machines. I do not. This is not my job. It's fun, and I do it. Because Legos, I mean, who doesn't love Legos? Which is not a word.
Very,
The Lego company says Lego is already plural. They are Lego bricks. They're not Legos.
Not sure I agree with that.
But they're patent that.
That's what they say.
I mean,
I
it's just like the
still-
rules in Uno that everyone argues Uno is wrong and it's their game, so
Yeah.
this is a common thing.
What was their ruling? You
But
can't.
stacking draw fours, you can't stack
Yeah,
draw
that's no.
fours. That is in the official Uno rules, and Uno says that's what it is.
I don't think
Everyone
it's in the
argues.
rules. I think they
said it was
they
in the rules.
released that message,
They said it was
and
in the
people
rules.
said, no, we will play how we like. I was going to talk about precision tuning. Sorry, I didn't have a chance to do much with it, but the intent was, well, I read a thing about dialing in your settings even better than like, I would rate mine as pretty good, but a way that they could get better is to do calibrating your flow rate of your extruder even more precisely. And the way you do that is for each material, actually for each individual spool, every time you load in a new spool, you do a single wall print and measure the actual thickness versus the intended thickness of that single line, and then apply those settings to your extrusion multiplier to get exactly correct output from your nozzle. So like I said, I was going to do it, but I didn't have enough time. I was working on other things, like the Lego thing. I thought the Lego thing would be quick. No.
Have you been using them with those containers? Are the results
Yeah.
better?
I don't know. I mean, I only just recently got the wider rollers to the point that it would spin freely in a container. And I've been running it on Predator, which is my other printer, the big one that I put together here. Gosh, when was that? March of last year, maybe? Yeah, that's right. It was pre-COVID. I've been using that printer, and before I had the wider set rollers, I had the filament on the horizontal bearing plate. Because what I did was for these, to maintain the moisture, like air tightness, I designed a thing that goes in this hole with a tube running out of it, and you film it in the tube, put the plug in the hole, and then it goes right into the printer, so there's no, I mean, a little air can get through, like it's not vacuum tight, but it's pretty good. The Mars Gizmo guy design actually just says put a PTFE nut thing. I don't know what to describe it as. No, it's not a Teflon nut. It's a.
Well, it's in the.
Yeah, this thing.
Connector.
These. It's got screw threads and the little black plastic thing. Basically, the tubing goes into that. Actually, there's some in Bigfoot right here. You can't see it. But basically, it's this tube goes into one of those, and it's held in place. Like you can't pull it out. It's how they connect to Bowden setups. It holds that much tension on the PTFE tube. Put one of those in the lid, and then just run a tube to your printer, and just like leave the tube in there all the time. I'm like, just leave an opening like that? No. Make it fit. Especially since it's got, like, this specific one has the opening thing like that. I think his original containers that he used didn't have the separate opening. The easy pour spout for breakfast cereal. Let's see. Oh, I also improved Bigfoot's casters. I don't know if you guys remember the last time he was here, the wheels had broken going down the stairs. I made these thicker for one, and I printed them on Bigfoot using the volcano nozzle for two. And I printed them with ABS, which technically is not as strong as PETG, but I have a bunch of ABS I'm trying to get rid of. And in order to get around the warp that ABS filament is famous for, I designed the parts. If you look at them, they're like hollow.
Yeah.
Like you can see through the other side because it's a bunch of individual pillars between two plates. And I'm sure that's not as strong as like a completely solid part would be, but it doesn't warp. Because the thing that causes warp is long straight lines of filament, because that shrinks and pulls the ends in, and this doesn't have that. For most of the part, it is a bunch of individual islands of part being printed individually, and none of them pull towards any of the others. They just sit in space, and so it worked. And on the bottom two, I printed it shorter by about 3 millimeters and put this acrylic plate on the back. So in terms of strength, the wheel is bolted through a piece of 3 millimeter acrylic, which that acrylic is also bolted to the frame. So if the printed part were to fail, it would also have to shear through that solid piece of 3 millimeter acrylic, or whatever it is. I don't remember. I think it's acrylic. It's clear plastic that I got from Amazon. That was the cheapest kind I could find. It might be Lexan. It doesn't shatter, so it might be, yeah, it might be polycarbonate. bendy. It's those scrap pieces. Yeah, Lexan, that's what it is. It's Lexan. So that's actually all I had to talk about this time. I did not talk about it. Are there any questions?
What's the big vision?
The big vision?
Yeah, for the Legos.
Oh, did you not see? I have a model. It's going like this is the approximate dimensions of the room.
Yeah, very, how many people?
Um,
Like half of this room?
oh no, it's very small.
It's just the house entry room, so it's small.
Like a quarter of this room?
The main part of the room is 2,283 millimeters, so a little over 6 feet. And then the long side is 2,606 millimeters. So it's not, I mean, it's not huge. I measured it in Lego track pieces, and it's 12 by 15 plus the corners. But that was wall to wall, and I'm setting it in a little ways from the wall. If you look, like, that's straight down. It's about 5 Lego studs away from the wall. A Lego stud is 8 millimeters, and it's 39.5 millimeters from the wall. Because I was reading, Lego train enthusiasts have rules about how you arrange Lego trains, and one of those rules is 4 studs away from the edge. I don't know why. That's one of their rules. So I'm like, okay,
So
I'll
did
make it
you,
4 studs
so
from the
did
edge.
you say that the tracks were electrically conductive?
The old ones are, yeah. They're plastic track with little metal rails on top that conduct electricity.
I remember we spoke about that before, about the substance itself being electrically conductive. They
Yeah.
had like the bronze type, but it
Oh,
didn't hold-
filament, electrically
yeah,
conductive
the
filament.
but the filament didn't
Yeah.
hold the charge that long. It was like seconds, and then it just stopped responding.
Yeah.
Because you could build like the casing, and then get your copper plate, and then trace the root into the plate, and then have the plate inside of the casing. But instead, you can like just trace the root into filament itself. But it just, it wasn't working. That's why I was wondering if you heard anything. Has anything happening?
I don't know. I haven't heard. Oh, one other thing I did. Trying to think of where a picture is of this. Cats. Megabyte. Nope. Damn it, where is that? I know I took a picture of it. There it is. The largest thing I have ever printed. I printed recently on Bigfoot. That is it. So there we go. That's with the door open. It is a bracket for the lights on my trailer, and this is the side that also has the license plate, so it's bigger than the other one. That is it up on top of Bigfoot. That is it next to a cat. It's some idea of how large it is. These two, this hole and this hole, can you see my mouse? Yes.
It's megabyte.
These holes are 12 inches apart. No, I'm sorry. A license plate is 12 inches wide, so the edge of that arc and the opposite edge are 12 inches apart. It was 1.4 kilograms of filament, so I had to swap spools midway through, because the spools are all 1 kilogram. I used to get 15-pound rolls. That is such a pain. I don't recommend it. 1 kilogram. You can change filament in print. It's not hard. Yeah, and it worked. Everything fit. My trailer has lights and they're wired up. Oh, and it's shaped like this because the mounting holes for the lights are on the side of the trailer. And the way the normal brackets are, the lights stick straight out, license plate underneath, which means the license plate is below the bottom of the trailer. But it's a folding trailer, so when I fold it up and then want to push it against the wall, the license plate sticks out to the flat part of the trailer, so it basically, the trailer has to sit that far away from the wall because that's how far the license plate sticks down the bottom of the trailer. And if I drop the end of the trailer while unfolding it, the license plate hits first. I think I broke the original bracket and glued it back together several times because of that. So I designed new brackets that stick out, bolt to the side of the trailer, and then curve up so that the lights are above the bottom of the trailer by the height of the license plate, so that it is no longer the lowest point. And I didn't have to do that on the other side, but I'm going to have one of the lights be up like that, the other one has to be up like that. Symmetry, I have to have symmetry. I can't not do that. But anyway, they're on, they fit, everything worked. I did some kind of fun modeling to make these, my models. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's it with measurements. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not 12 inches. License plate mounting holes are not 12 inches apart. Here we go, I'll open up so you can see it. I modeled it backwards because I'm dumb. And I had to flip the model, which is why the measurements all appear off to the side. I had to do that. See, because the license plate goes on the left, but facing to the rear, this is the right side bracket. Anyway, that is the dimensions of a United States license plate. That rectangle, 12 inches by 6 inches. And then the mounting holes for the trailer. I measured everything twice. Everything fit the first time. That doesn't always happen. Or at least, that didn't always used to happen. I print something and then find out it doesn't actually fit and I have to print it again. Measure twice. Always measure twice. I can't stress that enough. Measure twice.
Are you changing it to measure twice, print once?
Yes, measure twice, and then you only have to print once.
And you gotta give yourself a little wiggle room because sometimes you do it to the exact dimensions and because it does not fit, you've had things not fit.
That's right. Like these holes, the mounting screws for the trailer are 1/4 inch. These hole, which is 6.45 millimeters. I think I made these holes 7.5 to give myself that much ease of inserting the screws into the mounting holes. Yeah, that's margins of error are good. And then the bracket that doesn't mount the license plate is that one. So it's just, it goes out the side and then the lights up top. And that's the one that actually goes on the right-hand side of the trailer. I wired them up yesterday, but I haven't connected them to the car to test them. Oh, I also made a thing. I got a glass orb for Christmas, which is kind of a weird thing to want. but I want it for photography because I kind of like the images you can make when you take a picture through a glass orb. So I designed a mount, like this is an example. That's a lamp mounted to the wall. Got it at Goodwill for $5. The stick coming out of the unicorn was loose, but you peel back the underneath part, which is just felt, and then tighten the nut. Why would anyone get rid of that? Anyway, maybe they don't have an 11/16 wrench, which is what it took to tighten that nut.
Or they don't like unicorns.
Or, well then why do you have it in the first place?
It was a Christmas gift.
Maybe, yeah, white elephant. Anyway, I like it. It's a unicorn and it's pretty. So I took a picture through my glass orb, but in order to position the orb to take the picture, I needed something to put it on so that I can stand it on a tripod. And this isn't a really good picture of the stand itself, but it's a 3D printed thing with it. Then you can kind of see the bottom of the tripod there where the orb sits on the tripod. But that's what I got it for, and that's me experimenting with it. Just making sure that I can, like, I have a tripod for my phone, which is what I'm using as a camera, because it's the best camera I have. I have an SLR camera, but excuse my phone, it's kind of sad actually. It is super old, it's 2001 I got it, so that's how old it is. But I can mount both of them in a fixed position and get, well, I think they're cool pictures. Especially that one, look at the way the colors blend around the sides. I just need to not do it in like the home theater room with all the weird stuff around it. So anyway, that's, actually I'm gonna open up the model. No search results. Close search. I think it's under that. No. It's under household. Orb holder. That's what it is. That is the thing to set the orb on a table so it doesn't roll off. And also, you should cover your giant glass orb whenever you're not home. Because if the sun hits it weird, it can burn down your house. I took it outside to test this. Yes. It will make very much heat. It's like 8 inches. But that's the orb holder. And then this little like furniture slider cloth feet that go on those circles. That's what I've been doing with 3D printing. Honestly, I don't really have anything else to talk about. Oh, I can't show off the dual. Well, I have to resize something.
You know, print something dual printing.
Yeah, my two-color, I have two-color models, or I have G-code that I set up for dual-color printing at the last,
Can you reprint that smiley face that didn't work?
I can't, because that G-code was for PETG and PLA, and I've got PLA and ABS. Although, maybe it'll work. I'm sitting right here. It doesn't work. I can't. There's beautiful. Jobs. Traffic cones.
Oh yeah, it's dual print.
That was the test one. Where's the smiley face?
Did you save that one?
I mean, if I uploaded it to Bigfoot, it would have been saved. Oh, yeah, face. 03, 926, yeah, that was the last meeting. This is the small one. Let's see if it works. It's going to take a while to heat up, though. Gotta get to 60. I should have thought of that before I started talking, because it would have run and like been done by now. 60.
time you showed us like part of the joystick, you finished turning a successful one by sitting on your joystick.
Oh, yeah, I don't have it with me, but I can show you the model. Certainly.
Those things are expensive now, so you could print them.
A couple $100, yeah, if you want a really good one. I haven't touched this model in a while, but this is one of the more complicated things that I designed. I can't change transparency on that. Well, anyway, this is the joystick that I designed, iteration 15. It does a couple of weird things on purpose. It has 2 triggers. Each of these is a separate switch, so I can do two triggers, basically, primary and secondary fire. I designed it specifically for the game Elite Dangerous, which has primary and secondary fire, and I wanted them both, on one finger. And these switches, the finger pads are designed that I can either hit them both with one finger, I can hit one or the other, or both of them, or I can do 2 fingers, one on each. It also has, you can see these tubes running through it, switches here and here that go wired up into it. This plate is for a series of buttons, which is what each of these things is, although the model is inaccurate for some reason. They're not.
You can figure out which one's which when you're like in the heat of battle.
They're actually, I bought a assortment of these buttons that are all different heights. So I made sure each one was a different height than the one next to it when I actually assembled it. That's not in the model because that would be more complicated to model.
I still wouldn't be able to figure.
And this big hole in the middle is for a separate joystick, a little mini joystick that I programmed in the controller to adjust, like fine-tune the pitch and yaw of my spaceship for more precise aiming. And the knobs on top, one of them adjusts how much the center joystick affects my pitch and yaw, like what percentage it does from, I think, 5 to 25%. And then the other knob up top adjusts the acceleration curve of the joystick because the response is not linear. In the middle of its movement range, it does very little, but if I go further out, it does more. Like you normally,
you want precise aiming.
right, in the
When
middle,
you're sniping,
it's very
you're
precise.
sniping, and then when someone's shooting you from behind, you want somebody to turn around.
Yeah. Like normally, your position away from center is linear to how much input is given to the system, the game, the computer. But which would be just a straight line, 1 millimeter moved is 1 value of input. I don't know what the actual numbers are, but 1-to-1 movement across. This one, the response curve is more like a parabola. And that knob adjusts its arc from a squared parabola, like an x squared curve, or no, 2 to x curve. Basically, it adjusts it from a parabola to a straight line. So it can be either that curve or a straight line or somewhere in between. I did the math on all of that when I programmed the controller. I also wrote the programming for the controller for the joystick. There's a little teensy board that lives inside this space here, and all the all these buttons go to it in a matrix, the knobs, the switches, everything goes to it. And down,
You thought about commercializing it? If you ever
my joystick, I don't know if I could compete with, I forget the guy's name, the really, like the one I wanted to buy, but I didn't have $500 for. I don't know if I could beat his price. Plus, like, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in doing things no one else is doing and seeing if I can make them work. And I'm not going to talk about what those little things are off on the side there.
do you play MechWarrior 2 or the 2?
I think I have. This is a gimbal frame assembly. This is something I downloaded. Press this component. A guy on the internet whose name I don't remember designed this part, the part that's in colors, that originally did not have 3 hooks. I added the 3 hooks because my grip is so heavy, it needed more spring force to center it. But this, I downloaded another guy's design for this gimbal assembly with the springs and these cams, I guess. And the cams, these red hook-looking things, are adjustable, which also controls not the response curve, but how much the joystick is pulled towards center based on how much it's been moved. And I tried a couple of different shapes on those in my various efforts on this project. But it's designed to use a specific kind of sensor that does Hall effect magnetic sensing. Basically, can I hide this? Yeah. In here, this space is a magnet. And on that part that I just hid, which I don't think I can find again, and on this, which is the other side, mounts a small sensor board that detects the position of that magnet very accurately. Like 10 decimal points of precision or something ridiculous. And I'm only using it to sense like 30 degrees one direction or the other. But compared to other kinds of joystick sensors, Hall effect sensors don't wear out because nothing is physically touching anything else, compared to potentiometers, which are another way to sense position on a joystick. I think there's another way. I don't remember if anyone's using it. But like, Hall effect sensors are the rage now in terms of joysticks and stuff. And that's what this uses. But that's not my design. That's somebody else made it up. I had to design basically everything in gray. I had to design mounts for the sensor boards because his design didn't include that. And then these are the brackets that mount it to my chair. These brackets mount it to a larger spring assembly. Is this it? I don't know if this is it. Nope. I haven't done like anything with this in, I think it's
It's a little
been years.
messy, but it's working.
Looks like it's working.
It's just a little messy.
Well, it's doing ooze shield, so gimbal mount, is this it? No. I don't know where my circle spring thing went. Spring ring assembly. This, I designed a bunch of much bigger springs to hold it in place.
Plastic spring?
No, metal springs. I think I have a picture of that. But there are things in my photo library that I don't really want to show. So turn off. Wait, 3D printed parts. I think it's in this outline. Aha! Yeah, it's doing it. It's just messy.
Yeah, it is pretty messy.
We're near the low bound of what can accurately be produced on a 0.8 millimeter volcano nozzle. That's a big nozzle, making small, comparatively small parts. Anyway, this is that spring thing because the grip is so freaking heavy. I need all those springs just to hold it centered. That's the grip with the control board just hanging out the side. And that's a closer look. I have indicator lights for various things. Can't remember what they do. But you can kind of see how the buttons are different heights. I made them smaller to larger going up, and then smaller to larger going outward from the middle. Because they come in like 7 different heights. Closer look at the spring. That's the gimbal thing underside. And then that is something I printed for work. They played that game where you trick someone into looking at your hand in this, like they all played it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna win this game. And I 3D printed a hand in that shape.
So they have to look at it when they're like,
Yep.
walking around the office. Did you win?
I mean, I was only there for like 3 weeks in between other clients. But yeah, I gave them, that was my contribution to the trick people into looking at your hand. Of course, now that hand symbol means something else. I don't think they play it anymore. Anyway, so in terms of dual extrusion, yeah, it's doing it. We're just seeing the results of a volcano nozzle printing a small part.
Is this spineless detail you charge print with this novel?
It might be. See, the thing is, the other nozzle is a 0.4, which is like average size, I think. Most printers will just come with a 0.4 nozzle. And the volcano, the big one on here is 0.8. But volcanoes come all the way up to 1.2, last I checked anyway. So you can make really big parts with them. I'm not sure what it's doing there. I must have just done a layer in black and now it's going to do the next layer in black and then switch to white.
What are you printing?
Smiley face.
Smiling, a flat smiley face?
Yeah,
Woo.
in 2 different colors.
Oh.
Yeah, now it's heating up white from standby.
How thick is this one?
How thick?
Yeah. How many layers do you do?
This-
joystick you were making,
I'm sorry?
the joystick you were making,
What about it?
how are you planning on using it?
I mean, I'm not planning on using it.
Are you just making it to just print it?
When I set out to make it, I was going to use it for Elite Dangerous.
That's a PC game or?
Yeah, it's a PC game. I think it's also out on PlayStation and Xbox, but I haven't played it in a while. At the time, I was interested in playing it. And then I realized I was spending so much time and effort working on the joystick, I wasn't spending any time playing the game. Like, my free time was going towards this project when I could have been spending time playing the game. So I just went on eBay and spent $50 on a used joystick that did what I wanted it to. But that's what it was for.
So you printed it, but you didn't,
I didn't-
put load any firmware or anything onto it, that's what it.
I ran the code I designed for it on it, and it worked with the whatchamacallit, exponential response curve and the mini adjustment stick in the middle. That wasn't the problem. The problem was it was so big and heavy, the centering springs took up so much space, and I mean,
Oh, those three sticks on the bottom.
yeah, there's 3 on each axis, and that's just to hold it centered. Like, it doesn't feel much different from a normal stick. And then the idea was to have it centered between my legs, center stick like a fighter plane. But there's just no way to fit that down there. So yeah, I kind of gave up on it. But that's what it was for. It's really dangerous.
Do you play DCS?
No. I like space.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna play Elite Dangerous in this. This is approximately my computer chair. That's actually kind of old. It's before I moved.
Like that's an iteration or two behind.
Yeah. Where's a picture of it tilted back? There we go. It tilts back. So the screens are above me and I'm laying back in kind of zero gravity position, which is immersive in the space game, but I have to leave the lights on or I get motion sickness.
Do you think it might have been easier to calibrate it to what you wanted if the game was calibrated to the stick? Because the game itself, like if you think about
If the game could process inputs, there actually is a program called Joystick Gremlin that lets you remap the response curves of your joystick, which is what I was having the onboard controller do for me, because I got tired of having to start Joystick Gremlin every time I wanted to play Elite Dangerous.
You wrote that in what? What language?
The joystick controller, C++,
C++.
Arduino, IDE, just...
Why don't you go to the marketplace in Unreal and just use their marketplace assets?
What?
And you can mirror their game to how you want the joystick to work. Yeah, that might sound like some work, but I've been playing around in the Unreal marketplace for like 3 months now, and like I made 3 stages in Unreal, and I also got to like communicate with my Pi, like like the VR set. So it's interesting how you can use their marketplace assets to like physically calibrate hardware. Like, 'cause you can do like the node script, drag and dropping, or you can like use C++ or C# in Unreal. There's not a lot of people doing that.
So making my own game?
Yeah. But you wouldn't have to worry about, it'll just be the programming side for you, but all the marketplace assets are already
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I could have done that. Elite Dangerous also is massively multiplayer. There was a community. Technically I'm still on the Discord server, but I haven't talked to them.
You hear that service called Linode? You hear that company? Linode?
No?
Linode.com? They allow you to use their servers. So they'll you can pay per hour for like RTX 490 graphic cards. You can pay for like 10 of those to be running your game. I mean, like per hour, obviously it's gonna be pricey, but if you know what I mean, if you wanna like really sync all that stuff up,
Yeah.
you can sync it up and like it'll be your dream. You know what I mean? It'll happen. It'll happen right in front of your eyes. You know.
That does sound cool.
There's this guy hit me up last night actually. He showed me this mask he wanted to make and stuff, and I was telling him how to think about cutting the mask so that he can put the headphones into the mask. It was interesting.
You jammed.
I heard it clicking. It's feeding though. Must have just been a momentary skip. That light though, that looks really shitty.
What's the size of the printer?
This one?
Yeah, the max size.
Build volume, 300 square and 400 tall. I think it can physically fit a couple of millimeters higher than 400, but I haven't really pushed it.
It looks thinner than the black.
Well,
Like,
it's doing infill.
Looks weird.
Have you been doing scanning?
I did scanning a couple of times. It was a big pain in the neck.
I recommend using a Matterport scanner.
Well, yeah, but I'd have to buy one of those. I have a Connect.
I was
lying
gonna say I
around.
was gonna bring it, but I had it shipped from Seattle and they stole it.
Oh.
The box arrived to my house, ripped open,
That.
and my 3D printer and all the stuff in it was complete. Left it in the rain. So now I gotta go buy it, and they told me, oh, yeah, we don't cover it. Even though I bought the insurance.
They didn't honor the insurance?
No, they won't. It don't seem like they want to. So I
Well-
think I'm gonna have to go to small claims court or something, because that Matterport scanner was like $2,900, and then like it connects to the internet. That's the great thing about it, because you can like do like a augmented walk around gallery.
Yep.
You could do that kind of stuff, but they completely ruined it. I wanted to bring it over here. You could try
Show
it out.
Like, not
That
really,
would be
just-
cool.
just-
Wanted
pretty
to.
cool, just see it.
The only thing that really arrived was the CNC, that's the machine mill, the press, and then it has like a laser that you equip with it, and you can like do a bunch of stuff. I haven't assembled it yet.
Yeah, I used Connect. I think I've scanned 3 things with it. No, 4. I scanned her boobs, and a family contacted me over Make XYZ to make a prosthetic hand. So I scanned the little kid's stump, nub, what he had instead of a hand, to fit the 3D print a socket that would fit close to it. And then I scanned a shift knob.
How did you go about thinking about that? I mean,
What?
working with. So the person in your family doesn't have
Above the wrist.
so he doesn't have anything here,
Yeah.
or so you had to like, wait, the hand's missing, or
Yeah, he had forearm, no wrist.
so how did you go into thinking about that?
I mean, I used Enable's model for the hand, which straps to the upper arm and the lower arm, and when you bend your elbow, it closes the hand, so you do it like this. But he had a unique shape of forearm, so I scanned it to try and print something close to that size to fit onto his forearm. And I just used, I forget what the software was, ScanEct maybe? But the most success I had was doing the shift knob, where I set the scanner up stationary and put the shift knob on a rotating platform, and then told it, the scanner is stationary, I'm moving the object.
So you were doing this?
Well, I mean, I was turning it with my hand from like the side, because the rotating platform I had was a spindle from my metal lathe that I set on the table. Spun around.
I was wondering about that usability of it, because I remember a dude who like had his leg amputated, and I like printed him like more like a cylinder shape, I told him but you know, we didn't keep going with it or whatever. He went and got something more professional, but I was wondering about that, like how that feels, how you know the feel of it on the hand, if that was like.
I have no idea.
Mm.
I didn't hear from them after after I printed it and gave it to them.
You know the guy who printed the first hard stem is from Houston.
I did not know that.
3D printed, yeah, that mesh that goes in there.
How big is it?
3.6 millimeters. It's almost done, so it's probably on the last layer.
I'm about to jiggle it out here.
Okay.
All those buttons.
So the lower layers are still warm enough for the upper layers to start bonding with the lower stuff?
Yes.
Stays
Feel
warm
like-
enough? Did you ever go to the lake?
Yeah, it definitely does.
Because
Certainly the most recent layer is warm enough to bond
Right.
to
She was in
the
a few movies in Hong Kong.
current layer.
I haven't done any more shades, but
And it's actually, it's doing something specific to dual color called shield,
I'm going to.
which if you look around the outside of the smiley face, there is a white and black ring
What's wrong?
that's around the model. It does that on each layer with each nozzle to prime the nozzle in preparation for printing. And now it's finished.
Either
So it puts that,
crystal
puts
in
the
my
priming.
ear or
Yeah.
alignment,
Ugh.
or
It
I have
stopped extruding
some form of
white.
dysautonomia where my body is not like listening.
I bet white jammed.
What am I eating? I'm gluten-free now. Pretty much just.
Yeah,
eating
white definitely jammed.
salads.
There's no white on those
I
other
live over
layers.
there, one guy.
But I have a nutritionist who's helping me get over my stomach
That's
problems, so.
The neurologist that I saw, Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but the insurance company paid for it. So it was like $2,000 an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, something he told me about those crazy.
clippers.
He said, the food that you eat in the morning, and he told me like, this shit work. So all my crystals were completed.
Oh,
I had like no symptoms.
that's good.
Yeah, I
And
lost
I'm
my vision.
wondering if my crystals are
They
messed up.
probably are. But I would say that he really helped me, and I thought it was like quack.
Yeah.
But he said less is better. You know, eating like blueberries. Walnuts.
Yeah, I have a smoothie going on.
But,
Or blueberries, yeah.
Well,
Blueberries.
I don't use blueberries. As a matter of fact, if you hit me up, I can send you the 5-page write-up that we have to do for the insurance company. Like, and you only eat it, like you have to be extremely strict about it.
Just notice when
Blueberries,
you're,
walnuts,
what is
and
sitting on
chicken
your
meal
shirt.
oats, and you
Yeah.
eat that in the morning around 7
Wow.
You know,
And
I know what
then
it's
you
saying.
skip your lunch, and then
Russian
you eat
worship,
dinner,
Joe.
and the dinner, he had this long chemical
Also got that
scientific name.
Like what?
Pretty much, but it was
Did it?
like broccoli. But it was like a bunch of stuff. If I could send you the pages,
I can't believe it.
after
Like,
my car accident, that's why I was
What's
sending this
your
stuff.
stuff?
there was
And
8
so-
guys on
Definitely
Snake
Russian,
Island
That's what I said. That's why I said
versus
eight.
a whole worship.
They
They said that to
Eastern
him.
medicine, what she's doing.
I don't think it's my ear. But this is my ear because I've had vertigo and this is not the same.
Well,
you
see,
see the
well,
video
see, the
later on,
crystals
the Russians, they
essentially,
had a special
they
forces
control
helicopter
your pathway,
drop
how
like
your receptors
the whole
feel. So it could
like,
be like
half
staring
of
at
the screen of
screens.
onto the
Or
thing.
sometimes you
As
need
soon as they
to close
landed,
your eyes.
boom, there was a
It's
huge
hard to
artillery
look at
explosion
screens
where the
because
helicopter
I
was.
couldn't look at screens for
For
I have not seen that,
Yeah,
but I
I've
believe
had-
it.
didn't work anything.
Although my eyes were really inflamed, so I was
So
taking
it's in black and
So
white.
I,
Like,
like,
in-
it
in-
hurt,
like,
like,
in-
it didn't
Watch
look
the
good at
meds
anything.
that they do.
And then you can add drops for my
Watch
swollen
them.
eyes, so.
Watch them. They always get me.
Magnetic build plates are
Watch
great.
this meds.
Oh, really? I haven't done anything. The only thing is it gets fuzzy for a few minutes, like a minute or two.
Comes right off.
Really thick.
I can see your
It looks great on the
sending
bottom.
messages up to your brain, to your eyes. So you
Smiley
may
face.
need-
Well,
Top, not so
very good.
much.
I'll tell you,
The lights are still working, probably, right?
Huh?
The white was still working on the lower.
Yeah.
Right back into place. I'm like back to basketball. So I think you go over there, 'cause, you
Oh, well.
know, chop it up.
So what
Thank
are
you all
doing?
for coming.
What
What?
happened
What are you doing next?
So she
Uh,
might go there about-
Probably,
And you
well,
also, you did more short.
I'm gonna try and actually do the precision tuning that I wanted to do for this month and show results
Upside down.
of it.
Upside down?
Yeah, I'm gonna say.
I might use my other printer, which has a .25 nozzle on it, and just see how small I can go. Because .25, I mean,
You know,
that's a really small nozzle.
Yeah.
.4 is sort of the standard.
Yeah.
I know that sounds.
They didn't make a smaller nozzle than .25, but I think they go down to .15 now.
Cannabis can leave your system in like 3 to 4 days.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. I don't know if the Mendel can travel easy. I need to build a box like this for the Mendel, which I haven't done, but I want to.
I think we can have CBD, but we definitely can't.
If I can do that, I'll bring the Mendel. If not, I will have
My sister's been.
at least
taking that
stuff
for
to show.
migraines, 'cause she gets really bad migraines.
about precision tuning.
I'm not sure if we can have it or not, but. Yeah, I definitely think it's my brain, not. I don't think it's my ear, I think it's my brain.
So with a smaller nozzle, you probably get better circular eyes,
Yes.
less bleed on the mouth.
Yep.
Just because, I don't know, I just feel like it doesn't feel the same.
Dual extrusion with different sizes like this would really shine if they both had the same material and I were using the small one for outer perimeters for detail and then the big one for infill and then only infill every n number of layers because the infill would be thicker. So it'd be like 3 layers of outer perimeter and then 1 layer of the thicker infill because that's as thick
It's just annoying.
like vertically as the thinner, more detailed outer layers.
The dishwasher.
That's- I mean, that's one thing you can do with dual extrusion. The other thing is soluble support material. There is water soluble filament, so I could do support with one nozzle and have arbitrary overhangs on the other and then just soak it in water. This is all the support.
And what is like the method for like maybe smoothing that out so that it's less obvious that it's? Is there a way to do that?
With ABS there is.
No.
Um,
Is it PLA?
The chemical that smooths PLA is incredibly toxic, if I recall. Acetone smooths ABS, which is also toxic, but like it's a nail polish remover. Like we put it on our skin occasionally.
Right.
And I've done it. I don't have anything as an example of acetone smoothing, but I have got like a workflow down for it, basically. I have a big glass jar that I put acetone in the bottom of, like, you know, that thing. And then I put it in a pan of water, which I then put on a burner. I have a standalone, like, hot plate, basically, to boil the water, which then boils the acetone to make acetone vapor in the glass jar. And I lower the part into the glass jar. The acetone vapor gets all on the sides, take it out. About 45 to 50 seconds is all it takes to really make the layers go away. At least at 0.25 thick layers. I would imagine smaller layers would take less, bigger layers would take more. And it kind of depends on the part. But that's my process. Acetone smoothing.
That's the common way to do it, is acetone smoothing?
Yeah, that's for ABS. You smooth it with acetone. You can also use like Bondo filler and sand to get rid of layer lines. Or there's like thickening paint. It's like spray-on Bondo. Like it's a really thick primer that'll get rid of layer lines. And then sand. It depends on what you're looking for
Right.
in terms of smoothness.
Yeah.
Thinner layers are easier to smooth because there's just physically less visible striations.
So this is supposed to be completely filled in with white, right? Like-
Yeah, it should be. The white, I think, jams halfway through the print. I don't have any Bigfoot. If you rotate it clockwise, the center one, clockwise, other way, clockwise. That's it. It just pops one out, or however many are in there. That's someone else's design that I found on the internet, and then I put my name on it.
Is it a business card? dispenser?
Yeah, business card dispenser. Just,
It's getting better now.
oh, is it empty? It is. Well, there's one in there. No, it's fine.
Is Ender 3 still a good, cheap, small printer?
I think so.
Because Anchor came out with one that's a little bit more pricey, but it's a smaller.
I haven't shopped for a printer in a while, but the last time I did, it came down to a Prusa i3 or a Mendel 90. Really, it depends on what your budget is.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and talk past them over the room. It depends on what your budget is, really, for a printer. I think the cheapest one I found that I would consider getting is the Monoprice something, Delta Mini, they're like $140 on Amazon. But it's a very small build, like that big.
The
Not,
printer is that small?
no, the build volume. You can't make a part bigger than like an apple. But the printer itself is
Alright, Ender 3 size.
tiny. I think deltas are neat, and it's a delta. But in terms of like volumetric efficiency of size of machine to build volume, a Core XY or HBot with a lowering build plate is going to be best. Like the Ultimaker series, the mechanism is on top, and the nozzle moves on a two-dimensional plane at the top of the machine, and then the build volume goes down as the part is built. Versus this machine, the entire build volume moves back and forth on the bed, so the machine itself has to be twice as big as its build volume. Yeah. But if you want, I can look into printers and give my opinion, but I'm just going to go to printer reviews and read them.
Yeah.
They stopped making the Mendel 90, which was the last printer I bought. Well, not the Predator. And you can't get the Predators in the US anymore because of copyright.
Oh, really? Because of the name?
Yeah, because of the name.
Seriously?
Yeah, stupid.
This is, yeah, it has nothing to do with the movie at all, okay?
You can buy them in Australia though. But the quality of any Cubics, of course I've replaced a bunch of stuff. I replaced the control board with a Do-It, the effector with a Do-It, smart effector, and yeah, that's it. I mean, those are the big ones.
But you customize the parts.
Yeah, like the control board here is a Do-It 3D, makes that board and the screen thing. And that is a Bond Tech extruder with an E3D hot end. Those are the only brand names.
Most of these parts are like interoperable as far as like their
Yeah.
sizing.
They really are. That bed system, like the Y carriage and the magnetic build plate, is from a Creality CR10. The rest of it, however,
thinking about
Poorly.
Very nice.
music or
Thanks.
thinking about and stuff in
I'm not
Like,
very
if you
smart.
get
I should not
the
have tried to
position,
design my own
like the
printer.
position,
It was a mistake.
That was a
I
mistake.
get,
It took me about 8 years to get it working.
Really?
Yeah, I started in 2013, and it wasn't really operable until
It just like feels like a
2020. Yeah.
You won't be hosting this talk with people like us.
Huh?
You won't be hosting this talk with people like us if you did.
But the change to the X carriage that I made past couple of months really made it
really good.
like I can actually rely on it now. Because before the way it was designed, like if you look at the X carriage, the wheels are above and below. Previously they were side to side, and the weight of the dual extrusion hot end caused the whole thing to sag. So like, if it was level at the corners, it wouldn't be level at the middle, it'd be dragging. And if I leveled it in the middle, it would be too high at the corners. Just no end of trouble. Very cool.
I have more free time, which is why I'm going to call the doctors. Getting all
Thanks.
all my referrals out of the way, so I can.
So what's the biggest thing you printed?
The taillight bracket.
Oh, that's right, you did say
No,
that.
I just
Yep.
wanted to find
Have you
something.
done like multi-part projects?
Yeah.
And I feel like they
Actually, I can
I
demonstrate
don't know,
one
I'm
of
just afraid
them.
I'm gonna like go to detect window and then I'll.
My dice tower. Well,
probably won't leave.
those the interlocking brackets for the Lego train
Yeah, that's
are
good.
multi-part.
You ever tried cupping?
But another thing I designed
Yeah,
that
she
is
does
multi
Belt, it was like
art.
the best thing I think I've ever done. It was so good. I dislocated the top of my spine quickly and caught my muscle like underneath it. And so when they put that in the line, they
Gosh.
in front of the down. They couldn't get the stop, so I did
So you got
Aw.
my body didn't know what to do. And so they were doing acupressure, but it would only relieve it for like a minute and then it would come back. So they had to do all the
Well, that's
acupuncture.
fine.
They did the acupuncture.
That's not the
I've ever had. Like I felt like a new person the next day. Got my back to hurt all.
This is it. Yes. This is it. It is a dice tower for, I play Dungeons and Dragons, so you drop the dice in the top and then they roll down. It takes 4 seconds for a dice to roll down this tower to the bottom, because the central shaft is 360 millimeters tall. And ignore it didn't rebuild properly. It's surrounded by dice
It came out.
shapes.
Yeah, he was like a picture of it. Why don't they tell you what it's about? It's a game.
If I can find, there we go.
Gaming.
That's what it looks like printed. I made a nice silver PLA.
Let me know if you want to talk to any neurologists that I know.
Yeah,
That's
I
in
got
Bellevue.
a referral, so I
And
stuck
I
it into his.
inscribed words on it, beware the smiling DM,
He's
the
not.
dice
There's
giveth,
two
the dice
different
takes
types.
away.
There's that.
May the dice roll ever in your favor, around the perimeter.
Yeah.
And then I designed another multi-part thing, which is this, that sits on top
Yeah.
and drops dice down into the tower.
With his neurology and everything. So he's
Yep.
like a legit doctor.
And you can see how long it takes them to get to the bottom.
If you want to consult like a
Let's see,
I
teleconference.
just really want to see the changes. that
1 second,
I can tell doctors all day. like,
There.
This is
So I
what.
said you might get.
4 seconds,
I can see it.
all the way down.
Just knows how to interpret and comprehend your condition.
He's gonna also see
But this is the dice dispenser thing. Like there's a central mechanism, the funnel is a separate print, the lever and the thing that goes inside, you can see they're nuts holding everything together. And then the legs with magnets that fit it to the tower. That's right, the tower is held together with magnets. There's,
Alright, see you guys.
See you later.
these holes here and here and that one hold small magnets, which are actually keyed. One is north up and the other two are south up, so it has to be assembled correctly. And the same at the bottom here, I have 3 spots for magnets that are also keyed. Anyway, yeah, so that's multi-card.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for coming.